Hi, this is the Conversations with Awakened People Living Regular Lives series. My name is Kundan Chabra, and here's my guest, Sayat Papig. Sayat, welcome.
Thanks. Good to be here.
Good to be here. Thank you for being here. So, this is a conversation about your different awakening experiences, how it changed your life, and how you live it, how it helps you in your daily lives, and how it helps your friends, like the people you're with. So, let's start with the first question. Tell me about your first awakening experience. Describe that. Like,
My very first one,
mm-hmm.
without being on hallucinogens. The very first one I had was it was after reading the book The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, and the very next day after reading, I just read the
The first 5 pages.
first 5 pages of the
Mm-hmm.
book, and that night when I went to bed, I was questioning reality. Is this reality? No, no, no. This is reality. Okay, no, 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 no. This is reality. And I kept going a level above that, and I'm like, this is crazy. I just so of intense thinking, of intense like going up, because you could always go up and up, and now I realize it was just my mind trying to just capture my mind, or the just trying to survive, the the ego mind trying to settle in with what I with what else I had realized,
Uh-huh.
because it loves to do that. I think of something and this is great, and then the ego says, okay, let's do that now, and it just grabs onto that, and so I just kept going a level above that, and in reality there are no levels. It's just there, and the mind just doesn't want to accept that. So, but that wasn't the awakening experience. To answer, that came the night before the awakening experience, where the next day I was walking to a cafe, and for the first time in my life, I saw, my consciousness went from my mind to my belly,
Mm.
and I was literally in my belly, and I looked up in my mind, and I saw my mind as a tool, and that I a tool that I can use to look at things and to analyze things, but to actually decide where I go is here from my belly, and it's a different, my directional life then became different, then became from my mind to my belly, and the leader of me then came out. The leader of me then was known, and it was inside my belly.
Mm.
And I also looked at my body as the same thing, as my body as a tool. I looked at my hands and legs, and like, wow, I have a pretty cool tool here I
Mm.
can use to get around, and move things, and I actually started walking differently. Well, if this is a tool, let me walk this way. This is a better way to walk. And so it was, and I looked at my mind's fears, and I had a lot of them. And I'm like, wow, this mind is afraid of this. And I looked at my body. I could use this to get to here.
Mm-hmm.
It was yeah, it was pretty awesome. It was pretty awesome. And at that point, I was really struggling with a relationship. I was really struggling with a personal issue of my life, and after that moment, the struggle went away.
Mm.
Um,
Wow.
yeah, it was really bad. It was really bad emotionally. Talk about suffering. It was just I was just it was I was going through a breakup, and it was just a really horrific 3 months, and that awakening experience ended the horrific 3 months experience. Like, it wasn't horrific. It was just it was okay. It just it went from being horrific to being like, oh, I'm okay now. So that experience lasted 2 minutes, and that was it.
Wow. So who was the I that was okay?
Yeah, it's tough, because it's the best way to describe it is that the suffering went away.
Wow.
Like, it, it wasn't it wasn't attached to me anymore. It wasn't me anymore. Like I can continue with my life without this blanket, without this wool blanket called suffering over
Wow.
my head and my body. It was free from it.
Wow. So it's so the way I see it, the way I understand it, their suffering used to be part of your identity, and then you disengage from it, no longer was.
Right, for those
Yeah.
3 months during the
Yeah.
breakup. Right, exactly.
Yeah.
It-
Wow.
Exactly.
That's profound. So how did it change your life? Like, how do you live your daily life now?
Because of that, it's
Mhm.
well, well, the suffering went away first,
Mhm. Mhm.
and then and then I noticed after that point, since then, my attachment to things became less and less.
Okay.
And the less I'm attached to things, then the more it actually comes to me.
Mhm.
Whereas before, the more that I wanted it, the more that I thought I wanted it, it was almost like a struggle to get it.
Mhm.
And now now the struggle is not there anymore, only because it's not like I'm trying not to struggle, it's because I'm not attached to getting it or not getting it. It's I'm okay with I'm okay with me, and I'm okay with which direction happens. I might prefer one thing or another.
Mhm.
Actually, it's not even a preference. It's being okay with me, and then having what I would ideally like better to unfold, and the unfolding happens like literally step by step as I move through life. Yeah, I don't know if I'm explaining that right, but
Wow.
yeah.
Well, the way I understand that is like you suddenly have more choices because you have um, that sense that you're not your mind and not your body, because the mind and the body is limited and what it wants is therefore very limited, and you suddenly opened up to more choices, and so you became less attached to like the specific choices or desires that arise, right? And since you were more open to more choices and more possibilities, things better than you even imagined started happening. Is that how it is?
Right. I mean, that's
Yeah.
one way to look at
Yeah.
it, being open to more choices. It's the way I look at it is not even identifying that there are choices out
Okay.
there. It's being okay with me, and then being okay with the person that I'm with,
Mm-hmm.
and then just magic happens.
Wow.
Like it just it's for example, I'm not trying to start another relationship, but for some reason, the places that I go, the people that I meet, they it's like they want to get to know me w- way more. Like, who is this person
Uh-huh.
inside? That's like because I'm okay with me.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that. It's almost like gravity, and people just like want that. And so
Mm-hmm.
relationships are just so much easier because it's like, wow, who are you that you're okay with you? I
Mm-hmm.
want to get to know
Wow.
you. I want to let me be in your presence. And so that's what I'm experiencing.
Okay. So there's less of the neediness, so that makes you like more attractive. Right?
That's one way to put it.
Yeah.
And it's like, and if you try to get there just by saying I don't want to be needy,
Exactly. Yeah.
it's you're
You
gonna
can't fake it. Like, it
you're gonna
has to
have
be. Yeah.
you're gonna have a long road
Right.
ahead of you. It's instead it's almost like I want to be okay with me.
Exactly.
I am okay with me.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's almost like getting on a surface level. They're saying I'm okay with me, and then there's a underneath that. How do you really feel?
Right.
It's like you feel like crap. Oh, are you okay with feeling like crap?
Mm.
Like feel it totally.
Uh-huh.
Let it consume you. Let it go throughout all of your body. Dive in it as if it's a swimming pool. Are you feeling sad? Let the sadness be in a swimming pool, and you're on the diving board, and just dive in it and let it consume you. It might feel weird
Mm-hmm.
or like crap, but crap and weird is what the words that we made up in this culture.
Right.
And when we let it's basically a feeling, or that's all it is.
Mm.
And if we let that go all over our body and just go into it and just don't worry about how long it takes, and if you have time, that is.
Mm-hmm.
Don't worry about how long it takes. Don't worry about whether you're going to come out of it okay or not. And at the end, it just, when I do come out of it, it just, I literally transform.
Wow.
I literally see the difference in the way I act and the way I feel and how I interact with people, and my focus, my clarity, my productive days as the next days
Mm-hmm.
go. So it's being okay with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I guess to bring it full circle, I was saying be okay with yourself.
Right.
Be okay with
Be
your,
really okay.
your
Yeah.
full
Mm-hmm.
self, whoever you are, and who
Mm-hmm.
you are is what you feel. Who you
Mm-hmm.
are is what's going on inside.
Mm-hmm.
It's not what somebody is telling you are. It's not that you're a man or a woman or black or white. It's how, what are you feeling inside?
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the closest things to getting to who you are. And
Right.
are you okay with that?
Mm-hmm.
If you're okay with that, then magic can't but come flooding in.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not okay with even an aspect of it, then then you're in for at least a little bit of a challenge, depending
Mhm.
on, to the degree of that you're not okay with it is the exact degree of the challenges in your life.
Mm-hmm.
To the degree that you're not okay with yourself is the exact degree that you have the challenges in your life.
Mm-hmm.
The more you're okay with you, all of a sudden the challenges just drop off
Mm-hmm.
one by one.
Right. That's a really great point, and I get the impression that one could have an awakening experience just by doing what you described, like diving in like a swimming pool into the sadness, into the fire. Like, for example, when I started doing it, like I started getting in touch with the part of me that's just here now. Like, I could call it acceptance or love or whatever, but those are just labels. It's really hard to describe. It's just like the part of me that's like just here and now for me always. Like, did you have like a similar experience with the diving in process?
Where it's here and now,
Yeah. Did you get in touch with that?
get in touch with it. It's
Yeah.
well, I had a second awakening experience.
Okay, tell me about that, yeah.
This one lasted for 5 days, and that one, it's like, it's not a thing of getting in touch with it. It's
Mhm.
again, that's on the surface words.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
it's a thing of like being it.
Exactly,
It's
yeah.
it's a thing of like looking around and saying, "Wow, this is cool." Like it's a thing of like things just looking different and knowing yourself more, and it's because I mean, we haven't had many masters in this. If you consider all the humans on the planet in the past thousands of years, there hasn't been many masters. The two most popular ones are Buddha and Jesus, and there's some that are awakened right now, like almost all the time,
Mhm.
like Eckhart Tolle, Moji, Jeff Foster, Adyashanti, and but there were people that wrote the English language. They didn't really take into account this awakening. So that's
Mhm.
why
Yeah.
when people describe it, it's like, what are you talking about, man?
Right,
I have
yeah.
no idea what you're talking about, because
Mhm.
it's like we're trying to we're trying to take. I mean, the English language is primitive compared to, not to down us or anything. I mean, because
Mhm.
we're great,
Right.
and we are what we are, and it's but compared to this enlightened compared to we want to go to, like, we have a language suited for kindergartners
Mm-hmm.
compared to an enlightenment, which is maybe like, let's say, after college.
Right.
So it's just, I don't, sometimes I fail to find the words to describe it. The best word is to not get in touch with it, is just to be it. And the
Mhm.
only way to experience it is to is to be it. And, you know, and so how do you get to it? So the second enlightening experience that I had is I did an exercise described by Eckhart Tolle where I viewed my thoughts, because this Eckhart Tolle says that we're all dysfunctional, and we all have a disease called thinking, and I agree with it. It's sounds pretty harsh, but we're all like living in our minds. We
Mhm.
start wars because we're mad at somebody, or we want power, or we want money, or or we kill somebody, or we do horrific things because our mind wants this. I mean, how is that not dysfunctional?
Mhm.
How is so how do you get out of the mind? How do you get out of this dysfunction? So there was an exercise that I did, is just view your thoughts. Don't judge it. Don't label it. And I was viewing my thoughts one by one, and I had time at night to do this, and each thought came and went like a freight train. One thought was like a car or the train, and at the end, after a while, I don't know how long it took, there was no more thoughts. There was no
Mhm.
more. The train came and left.
Wow.
The last car, the train, the last thought just came and left. And I let the thought, if the thought wanted to stay for 10 minutes, I let it stay for 10 minutes. If it wanted to stay for 10 seconds, I let it stay for 10 seconds. And and after the last thought left, it was not an emptiness, but a space. It was like the only thing there was the tracks of the train, which it was the space. A space in which anything can happen, a space in which life can be or not be, or just things are just is. Things are the way they are, and that was it was probably the most beautiful experiences that I've ever had.
Wow.
Of just in my life since I was born, and it happened like a few months ago, and so yeah, that's how you become. That's one way anyway, and that was one way for me, and we've discussed other ways, diving in,
Mhm.
feeling your body fully. So
Right. Yeah. So you just completely emptied your thoughts, and you were totally still in complete
yes,
stillness.
that's a perfect way to do it.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's a great. Sometimes the English language is great. That's a perfect way to do it.
Yeah.
It's like our brain is a bucket, and it
Mhm.
has all these thoughts,
Mhm.
and I emptied out the bucket.
Mhm.
But don't judge the bucket. Don't judge what's in the bucket.
Right.
Don't judge the
Yeah.
thoughts. Just empty it out one by one, and allow it to empty out in its own pace. Allow it to move at its own pace,
Mhm.
and whatever comes out, I mean, might be the most horrific thing you've ever thought of.
Mhm.
But don't judge it. It wants to come out.
Right.
Something wants to come out. If
Mhm.
you don't let it come out, then that's when it consumes us.
Mhm.
If we bury it, the more we bury the bucket never really goes away. If we have a negative thought and bury it, and we shove it deep down inside, what happens? That negative thought then comes out through our body language and through our tone of voice,
Acting out.
known
Yeah.
as passive aggressive.
Mhm.
But if we empty out the bucket, or if we look at the bucket at least, if we just look at it, if we just look at these thoughts, then it's not controlling us anymore. It's not above us pulling the strings.
Mhm.
What is then in charge? What is then controlling us? Our true selves.
Mhm.
Some of the most amazing times that I go to when I meet people or I go to parties, before I go to a party, I check in, and I see this intense crankiness or this intense moodiness, and I'm like, well, it doesn't want to go away, so I'm just going to keep it with me. I'm just going to look at it, almost like a friend. Just keep it with me like a friend, or what have you. And I'm going to enter the party, and I'm going to look at this incredibly crankiness feeling. And at the end of the party, I have the time of my life. No one knows that I'm looking at this crankiness. And then when I tell people, people say, well, how are you feeling? Well, I'm looking at this crankiness right now. And then I tell them that, and they're like, "You feeling cranky? Really? I would have never guessed. I mean, you seem so vibrant, full of life, full of energy." Because they're not, because why are they seeing the true me? Why are they seeing this life? Because I'm looking at the crankiness, so they can't. So the crankiness is not in charge of me.
Mm-hmm.
So they see the true me. So
Right.
they're interacting with the actual me.
Right.
And I'm kind of like viewing, kind of like keeping this crankiness at check, but I'm not. It's not like keeping it at check. It's just a viewing it, and
Right.
when you view it, then it doesn't go through your body. When you view it, then it's like it stays there, not controlling you. And it, you know what? And it wants to be viewed. To be honest with you, it wants to be viewed. One time I was late for something. I was in my car. I was late, and I was getting very agitated, and it felt like a zigzaggy feeling all over my body, and it was like a little kid running around all over my body. You're late. You're late. Oh my God, I'm so nervous. I'm late. I'm late. Everything's messing up. And then when I saw this, it was almost like a little kid was running through my body. And then when I saw this little kid, then that's when it like stopped and just looked at me like this. And then when I took my attention off of this kid and onto the road because I was driving, and that's when it started going up again.
Mm.
And so it was this. So sometimes it could be laid back, and sometimes it's intense focus.
Mm. Wow.
Intense focus where it's like I have to look at it, otherwise it's going to control me. Depending on how intense this anxiety, depending on how intense this anxiety was, I kept. So the more I kept looking at it, the more calm I got.
Mm.
And then the more I did that, the more the anxiety just started like disappearing on its own.
Mm.
Because when I ignore it or shove it down, and allow this anxiety to act through me, then it gets stronger. When I look at this anxiety, it gets weaker is a good word.
Mhm.
It gets weaker to the point it starts to disappear, is a better term.
Right.
And it starts to go away on its own because I'm not fueling it. I'm not
Mhm.
fueling this anxiety anymore. I'm not
Right.
fueling this feeling anymore. So it doesn't act through me anymore.
Mm.
What was the original question?
I was just asking you to describe your second awakening experience. So
Yes.
that's, um, and then I started, getting deeper into your experience with more questions. That's all. It occurred to me as you were talking about how people were surprised when you told them you were looking at the crankiness and they didn't feel it, that they just felt your vibrancy. It just occurred to me that because you're looking at it, nobody else has to look at it anymore. Like, it just occurred to me, like, the only reason why other people can see the crankiness is so that you can see it. It's to help you. Like, we're all mirrors. Like, and this is why, in psychology they use the term projection and things like that. And so that's why, looking at it is so powerful. Like, since you're looking at it, then there's no need for anybody else to look at it, right? And so that's why they see the true self, like just the vibrancy, the vastness, like which is who you really are, like that happiness, that freedom.
Right. That's a
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Awesome. So, how would you help somebody who is suffering and who comes to you for help?
Wow. Like, I do help people. I do have clients,
Mhm.
and we get to the core of
Mhm.
their feelings.
Okay.
Basically, to get to what our culture has not taught us as kids is, how are you feeling today? Oh, great. Oh, good, good, good. No. How are you really feeling today?
Mhm.
I feel like crap. Oh, well, you don't want to feel that.
Mhm.
You don't. You don't. let's replace that with good. Let's shove that down so it could cause misery for the rest of your life. That's basically
Mm-hmm.
what the
Mm-hmm.
what we're telling
Mm-hmm.
our youth. Oh yeah, this so we've actually been trained to push our true feelings down, push everything down. And so what I do is I say, okay, how are you really feeling about that?
Mm-hmm.
How and are you okay with feeling that?
Right.
That's I get sometimes what I do is writing exercises.
Mm-hmm.
How are you feeling now? I am feeling this way. What
Okay.
about now? I am feeling this way. What about now? I am feeling this way. I mean, these feelings just want to explode, just want to come out.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not addressing them, if you're not acknowledging these feelings, then they're exploding in other ways, causing problems in your life.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, writing is a very powerful exercise. Just looking at these feelings. I am feeling this, and then you'd be amazed if you start doing this exercise. Each feeling could be different. You could do it for an hour and have 200 feelings that come up, and each one of those feelings is different.
Mm-hmm.
Because all of these, if you address one feeling, then another feeling literally wants to say, oh, me, look at me, look at me. All it wants to do is just be looked at.
Right.
And then it's fine. It's not like there's a monkey wrench out there to fix these feelings.
Uh-huh.
The feelings don't need to be fixed.
Mm-hmm.
They just want to be recognized. They want to be addressed. And the only way to address is to look at it.
Mm-hmm.
Is to acknowledge that it's there.
Right.
And once you acknowledge that it's there, then that's the first step to change. You can't there's two ways to change. One way is to fix everything on the outside. That'll probably get you what you want. It might, with a lot of hardship and a lot of time. Another way is to look at what's inside.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at what's inside, then instead of the outside changing, you change. And when you change what you're looking at, everything on the outside then changes.
Mm.
So we start by what you're feeling inside. We start by it's not a matter of getting change. Change, just look at inside things. You then see things differently. You then make different choices.
Mm-hmm.
Change is then inevitable. Change automatically happens. It has to come from. This is a cliche. It has to come from within. It
Mm-hmm.
does.
It does. Yeah.
And the one key way to do that is, how am I feeling now? Okay,
Right.
how am I feeling now? How am I feeling now? And one thing, I mean, I do that a lot at home. Write things down. How am I feeling? And take it a step further when you're out with people, when you're doing a job, when you're working behind a computer. Ask yourself, how am I feeling now? You don't necessarily have to act out on that feeling.
Mm-hmm.
You could, but just recognize it.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever you possible. I know
Mhm.
sometimes it's not possible. You have a busy life. Well, the busier your life, the more you want to check that. The more time
Mhm.
you don't have to check in with yourself. You might want to look
Mhm.
at your life. But the more time you have to check in with your life, the more fruitful your inside will be, the more fruitful you will be.
Mm. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Um, Back to your second awakening experience when, because correct me if I'm wrong, I remember you telling me earlier, before this interview, when you reached that stillness and all your old repetitive thoughts were gone, you started being inspired with completely new thoughts, original thoughts, inspired thoughts like new business ideas, which is why I developed the theory that one of the three modes that this awakening experience operates in our daily lives is that it's like the source of creativity and problem solving. So, like, tell me more about those like original thoughts that started happening.
Right? I mean, so when I reached this state of no thought,
Mm-hmm.
it was awesome, but
Mhm.
it wasn't entirely no thought. Every
Mhm.
3 minutes, I don't know exactly how long, it seemed
Mhm.
like every 3 minutes or so, this brand new thought that I never thought of would come in, and I'm like,
Mhm.
wow, that's a cool idea.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great concept. I think I'm going to do that in my business.
Mm.
So that's what happened, and I actually, and later on I actually read from someplace that only the only way a new thought can come in is if you create space for it, is if there's room for it, is if you get in this state of presence. And we've all been present, one way or another, and otherwise there would be no creation. That for something new to come in, there has to be this space, this presence that you're allowing it. And so that's why it seemed like when the old thought stopped, that's why all of a sudden, like continuously every 3 minutes there'd be a new thought that came in, and that was wonderful.
Yeah, that's amazing. Like, it's like wow. Like, and I'm sure there are like historical precedents. For example, like I read somewhere that the scientist Kekule's discovery of the structure of the benzene ring was in a dream. You know, and then we all know about like Einstein's thought experiments and all that. So there's a history of like this kind of thing happening. So it's awesome that it happened with you too. That means it happens for everybody. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. Yeah, all these people that you mentioned, they've been in touch with that. I mean, everybody that's listening to this has been in touch with this presence too. And I mean, why be in touch with it just 1 minute a month? Why not be in touch with it a lot more?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And it's great that we brought this up, because a common question that people ask, oh, meditation is great, like being present is great, you become peaceful, like, but how does it solve the problems of my life? Well, that's how you solve it, right?
Yeah. There's, I mean, exactly. Again, there's 2 ways to fix it. One way is to get out your toolbox and just focus deeply on the problem, and another way is to allow the space.
Exactly.
For a solution to come in. I read a quote. I don't know who said it, but you can't fix a problem through the same state of mind that the problem was originally created.
Exactly.
So that's why it can get really difficult. It's like, okay, get in a different state of mind, allow for a solution to come in. Now the problem is fixed, or now the problem just goes away. Now the problem can be fixed.
Right. So if there's a situation that triggers you, like, because even though we have these awakening experiences in our daily lives, we're still like in the ego, right? So if there's like, let's say somebody did or said something, and in response you suddenly like became angry or whatever, like how do you respond to like your daily triggers, like based on your awakening experiences?
Yeah, I feel them fully. I don't when I can, when I can, because I know life can get busy. So when I can, I feel it fully and without judging it. I don't necessarily act on it.
Okay.
Like, for example, and we're so trained to be politically correct in this culture that, I mean, if you're feeling something horrible, I mean, just feel it totally. Don't judge it. And for example, I was in a workshop and I was taking a class, and I was trying hard to listen to the instructor, but there's one guy that was just being disturbing, and I couldn't hear everything that the instructor was saying. And for an hour and a half, all I could think about was just throwing this guy out the window. And I'm like, well, that's, so part of you wants to say, oh no, that's a bad thought. Let's push that down. But this thought was a crime yet to think a thought. It is a crime to actually
act on it.
Act on some of them. Not all of them, some of them. So I didn't act on it. But I thought it, and I didn't judge myself, oh, I'm a bad person for thinking it. It's just a thought. There's nothing wrong with that. And so after the class was over, I wound up talking to this guy, and there was absolutely no resentment towards him, which I was amazed. It's not like I tried not to. It's not like I tried to like him or tried not to feel resentment. It's just the resentment was gone. Like my thoughts, I had let my thoughts carry its course. So there was no animosity towards him. There was no hatred towards him at all.
Right.
And we wound up talking, and I told him with no anger at all. I felt like throwing you out the window quite a few times, with no anger or judgment at all towards him. And actually, he needed a ride home, and I actually drove the gentleman home.
Wow.
So think your thoughts, feel your feelings. Look at them though.
Mm-hmm.
Look at them. Allow your
Right.
feelings to go to consume you, to go all over your body.
Mm-hmm.
Consume is a good word, but it's not. It has a negative connotation, meaning it's taking over you. Allow it. Allow it to go through you. Allow it
Mm-hmm.
to become you. Allow it to just go to wherever it
Mm-hmm.
wants to go. If it wants to go
Right.
to your feelings and wants to go to your fingertips, allow it to do that. If your feelings want to go all over your body,
Mm-hmm.
allow it to do that. If your thoughts want to take you in this way, just look at them.
Mm-hmm.
Just continue to look at them.
Great.
A niece, I sometimes I help my niece, and she says she's afraid to think a bad thought because she's afraid that the thought will never go away. Well, that means that thought has a stronger vibrational intensity than other thoughts. So I told her, if you're thinking of a thought and you're afraid that it won't go away, keep it with you like a friend. Keep it with you like a person. Look at it like a person until it does go away on its own, because
Mm-hmm.
it will definitely go away on its own. Some people, some people's lives are really difficult. They have these feelings and they have these thoughts,
Mm-hmm.
and and it carries a strong frequency through many years, and year after year, this feeling or thought just builds and builds and builds. So I'm talking as if like it can go away like this. You know what? Sometimes it really needs focus.
Mm-hmm.
It takes more than a second. Really focus on the thought.
Mm-hmm.
Really allow the feeling to come in. I mean, you might have to lay down in a feeling when a feeling comes in. You might have to cry. You might have to just like allow it to go all over your body. And same thing with a thought. It might take a while before the train decides to leave.
Mm-hmm.
Cont- but it will leave. It will go away.
Right.
They all do. I mean, it's imaginary. It's all fiction anyway.
Mm-hmm.
It's these thoughts are made up. Oh, he hates me. She hates me. Who's thinking this thought? And is it
Mm-hmm.
real? It's a thought is a passing fad. And a feeling is emotion, energy, emotion. It's also passing
Mm-hmm.
too.
Yeah.
So if you feel it fully and allow it to pass, it's gonna pass.
Mm.
If you feel it and say, no, this is bad, oh well, now it's stuck.
Right.
Now we're stopping it from passing. It might feel really intense while it passes, but it's our fear of the intensity of this feeling, or
Mm-hmm.
it's our judgment to the thought that we
Right.
shouldn't. It's more of our
Mm-hmm.
fear of the feeling than the actual feeling hurting us. The fear
Mm-hmm.
cannot hurt. The
Yeah.
feeling cannot hurt us. That the thought cannot hurt us. It's our judgment to the thought. Now that can cause suffering. It's
Mm-hmm.
it's our fear to the feeling that we don't want to feel. Now that can cause suffering.
Mm-hmm.
If we just allow the feeling to come and go, allow the thought to come and go, life transforms. So that's what I would tell my clients. The
Mm-hmm.
original question, that's what I would tell somebody that's experiencing suffering, that you know what, you're not you're not allowing, we try allowing something to come and go.
Exactly.
You're not, something is getting stuck. There's a train that just comes and stops and sits there, that doesn't want to leave, and you're judging it. You're not allowing it to leave.
Mhm.
Hey, the thoughts are okay. The feelings are okay. Allow the feelings to come and go. Allow the thoughts to come and go. Life then transforms.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's awesome you brought up about both feeling and thinking, like, and especially with feeling. For me, like, there's a freedom in knowing that I'm never wrong for feeling what I feel. That every feeling's okay, and let it flow through me. Like, in a way, that freedom is even like better than the so-called good feelings like happiness or ecstasy. Like, in fact, that freedom becomes ecstasy at some point. Like, the more I allow it, the more free I feel. Like, so I totally relate to that.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
changes.
Yeah.
I always use this technique every time I'm feeling
Mhm.
bad, right? And then it sort of any bad feeling is just a frequency, and
Mhm.
it actually changes into joy if you do it long enough.
Exactly.
And because there's really only, if you get down to the root of who we are and get down to the root of all feelings, there's just one feeling, and that's joy.
Mm-hmm.
And then on top of that is hatred, discomfort,
Right,
all
all
of that,
that.
even happiness.
Mm-hmm.
All of this, that's just another layer, a layer on top of layer. And if you just allow, and if you, let's say if you're feeling hatred or guilt, if you just allow this feeling to go all over your body, eventually it will turn into joy, because there is only one true feeling, and that is joy.
Mm-hmm.
I tried it one time with happiness. I started seeing someone and I was feeling crazy happiness, and I felt that I was only feeling it from here to here,
Mm-hmm.
and I just had this smile on my face that just wouldn't go away. And then I'm like, you know what? I know this technique works when I'm feeling bad or sad.
Mm-hmm.
Let me use it when I'm feeling happy. So I just felt this happiness from here to here, and I said, you know what? Let me breathe this happiness all over my body and see what happens. The happiness, after a minute or two, turned into joy, vibrating joy. My entire body, like
Mm-hmm.
every cell of my body, was now vibrating, and it went from happiness to just a certain part of my body to joy all over my body. So it's the same with any feeling: guilt, sadness, fear. Like, whatever you're feeling, allow it to go through. And yes, as it travels through, it's going to cause an English word called discomfort,
Mm-hmm.
and that's perceived as bad.
Mm-hmm.
It's just
Another
a
feeling,
feeling.
yeah.
It's just a feeling going in a different avenue that you're not used to.
Mm-hmm.
It's like poking its head in, and yes, it will feel what you call discomfort. It's
Mhm.
just going to some place that it's never seen, and it's being felt in your body as a sensation that you consider unpleasant.
Mm-hmm.
In other cultures, in other worlds, it can be this actually might be the norm, but in this culture, the norm is to push away these feelings.
Mm-hmm.
No, let's allow these feelings to go. Let's allow these feelings to feel it. Let's feel them fully, and let's allow them to go. Let's allow them to be.
Wow. So how is your awakening experiences and your these daily practices that you do, how has it changed your life? Because, from what I know about you, it has changed your life in really big ways, like even your career seems to have changed, right?
Right.
So tell me more about that.
Right. So I mean, again, I don't have all the answers. I don't
Mhm.
have everything figured out. I'm
Right.
doing the best I can with what
Mhm.
I have.
Right.
The best that I could describe it is, I'm like right now I'm starting a website, and it's all about this kind of stuff,
Mhm.
consciousness, and
Right.
it's not like my mind is saying, this is what you're going to do for the rest of your life.
Mhm.
As far as like how I'm living my life, it's almost like I'm on a surfboard in the ocean, and the ocean is carrying me one way. If I want to turn around and go backwards, well, I can't really do that. If I want to, I would fall off. Then I would resist.
Mm.
If I want to turn around or make really sharp turns, I would resist where the ocean wants to take
Right.
me. And I'm honestly, the way I'm living my life now, it seems like I'm just trying not to fall off. It's like I go in cycles. Sometimes I'm trying not to fall
Mhm.
off, and sometimes I'm like cruising along. So this ocean, though, I feel the ocean intensely, because I'm allowing these feelings, and I'm allowing the thoughts to go through. I'm getting these other thoughts, and I'm getting these other feelings, like literally almost pushing me one way. Well, not pushing me, but just being with me as I move along.
Mhm.
And it's not like I have no say as to what's going on. You can direct the surfboard.
Uh-huh.
It's not like you have no control. So the best way that I can describe my life is, I'm on a surfboard, and there's this ocean that's coming with me,
Mhm.
and I'm also staying on and directing the ride and enjoying it the best that I can. And sometimes the ride gets bumpy,
Mhm.
so that's just another opportunity for me to get into this feeling. But magical things are happening, like a brand new website, new clients, brand new business, And it's all coming out through the creation of me moving forward with this ocean next to me.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't create this idea. I don't know. In fact, it's daunting for me because I always want to know exactly why I'm doing this or where I'm going, and this is not, and 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 the all it's not. It's not giving me the end vision of what it is going to look like, which is nerve-wracking. It's just saying, this is what you're supposed to do now. Like, this is what's in front of you now. Go do it. And then these old patterns and these old, because I still have thoughts. I still have these old thoughts and still have these old conditionings, still have these old feelings that are like, oh, they're coming up and almost like bumps. Those are the bumps, actually. The only bumps in life is the feelings that you have inside.
Wow.
And so the feelings of the resistance that you have inside are the only true bumps in life.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's how I live my life every day. Sometimes it's awesome and sometimes it's a bumpy ride. And the bumpy ride is a way to look inside and say, you know what? This is what the bump is, and every time I have it figured out, every time I think I have it figured out, I get a brand new bump that I've never felt before. I'm like, you know what? I'm not the man. I'm not all that. I had it figured out. Here's something else. Okay, let's allow this to be. Let's do this again.
That's awesome. I mean, it's amazing to have the whole ocean on your side. That's like, that's how we all want it to be. That's awesome. So what's your next step? What's your vision for your life for a better world? Like, what's your next
Yeah.
step?
It is impossible to change the outside without us looking at it differently.
Okay.
How do we? So I want changing the outside. I don't want there to be war. I don't
Okay.
want there to be famine. I don't want there to be crime. How do we change the outside? The only way to change the outside is the way that we look at it. How do we look at it? By a different perspective. The only way to get a different perspective is to just, a good saying is to raise our vibration, is to raise our consciousness. And all consciousness means is awareness. Be aware. If I could give one gift to myself and the world is, to the person that's about to commit the crime, to a person that's about to start a war, just be aware of what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Just be aware of, I'm not saying to stop, I'm not saying to go, I'm not saying to do it for a long time. I'm not going to judge you. I'm not going to, obviously it's bad. Obviously if I see you do it, I'm going to call the cops and I'm going to take the necessary action.
Right.
And the perpetrator and the victim should definitely take all actions to protect him or herself and do all necessary courses. But if I had to give one advice to the victim, the perpetrator, to everybody on the planet, with whatever they're doing, just be aware. Be aware of when you put on your shoes. Be aware of how you're talking to your kids. Be aware of when you go to McDonald's or juice it up. Be aware of what you're putting into your body. Be aware of like your fingertips. Be aware of you. Be aware of you doing life. That is, the more you are aware of you, then the less the old patterns and behaviors takes over you. The more of you, the true you, is leading you. When you lead you, changes then automatically happens. You don't have to ask for change. When you are aware of you, your life then unfolds. Then we will call this planet heaven on earth. The kingdom of heaven is then
Yes,
will
here.
then be here.
That's awesome. So, is there any question that I didn't ask that you wanted me to ask? That's my final question.
That last one is awesome. Thank you. Thank you
Okay.
for that. That's it. That's what I want for you. That's what I want for you. That's what I want for me.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for being here today.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So this has been Conversations with Awakened People Living Regular Lives. Thank you so much.